Hello everyone, and welcome to a review of Maria Sue. Glad I finally got the chance to review this. I originally read it digitally, and I as soon as I made a post saying that I read it digitally but I was waiting to get the book, immediately I checked the mail and I got the book. So it came in this box over here. This is actually one of the first books that I've gotten from Indiegogo in a while that did not use the Gemini mailers. And you see, usually it's like cardboard between the books or bubble wrap sometimes. George used tissue paper. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I guess it gets the job done. I mean, I don't have any problem with the books. They're not dinged, they're dented. And with the books, I also got this, a bookmark and a Mary Sue card. Now, you see, this is kind of confusing because I'm assuming this is a bookmark, right? As one would assume, but it feels like a sticker. Ironically, the photo card kind of feels more like a bookmark than the actual bookmark. I kept on trying to look in between, find a crease, like maybe it is a sticker, but no, it's a bookmark. It just feels like it's a sticker. Just how they printed it, I guess. Book quality in general, it's fine. Is it the best printing quality I've ever seen? No, but it's doable. It's fine. Some things I noticed, I don't know if the camera will do too good of a job picking it up. Oh, it's all blurry. Focus. Okay, so one thing you can see is the cover is actually longer than the interior pages, so that's why they're jutting out here, and you can see like they're kind of getting scuffed because every time I flip through the pages, I'm scuffing them because they're a little bit longer than the interior. On the first one in particular, you can kind of see, see? This little bit is actually longer than that bit. So when I'm flipping through number one, it'll stop in the middle. Yeah, it just immediately goes to the middle every time. And book two, as you can tell upon immediately feeling them both and comparing the two, this is much thicker and has more content than book one, honestly. Going over the covers, this cover is definitely very, very good. Some of you might think, oh, but it's such a casual cover, but that's all part of what makes it good. Obviously, this is supposed to be that mechanic girl style where she is kind of boyish, kind of dresses comfortably. I mainly like this cover because, obviously it's a good art piece in general, but it also has layers to it. It's yeah, she's a killing machine, but underneath all of that, she's just a casual girl. She's just a goofball underneath it all. And it's also very fitting for what's inside book one because it is more casual. Well, as the second book, things get chaotic, so you have a more her actually in the suit scene with warning signs. I will definitely say though, I do like the cover for issue one way more than the next one. Like I said, this one has layers to it and it's just overall a very good art piece. This one, I mean, if you wanted it to seem a little bit more chaotic, since the story in this book is a lot more chaotic, I wouldn't have zoomed in so far to her face. I mean, we know that she's wearing the suit, but we don't actually see a full picture of her in the suit doing something cool. We want to see her doing something cool. She's doing cool things in the book, why not the cover? But also, with the art being very expressive, there's a lot of sometimes inconsistency with the faces, and this looks like a completely different character from her. Mainly just because she looks older. She looks like she's in her 30s. This girl looks like she's in her teens. But that also has to do with the facial features. I get the idea maybe she's supposed to look more mature in this one because she's getting serious, but just everything about how you draw the facial features in this one is very, very different from this one. Her nose is more straight, less round. Her face in general is less round, and usually when you go for a more straighter look instead of a round look, it indicates that you're going for a more mature look, a more adult look, while as round, you have the kids with the chibi faces because rounder makes them look younger. I actually thought that this was going to be all in one. I didn't know that he was going to separate them into 2 issues till a little bit later down the line. I thought like maybe it would be chapters, like he split it into 2 chapters into one book, but nah. I think the problem with splitting it like this, if I was picking these up in a store, I couldn't necessarily give someone issue 1 in full confidence, because I feel like issue 2 is where you really get the full Mary Sue experience. This is very devoid of action for the majority of it, and it almost seems like it's very slice of life-ish for most of the issue 1. Issue 2, it picks up so much and it takes such a sharp turn from the slice of life feel here that it seems like just reading issue 1, you're missing out on everything. So now, without further ado, let's get into the story. So I actually already knew the story, already knew how it was going to end. And most of you might have already known the story and know how it was going to end if you had, like, seen the video me and George did together when we were talking about this. He just spoils the ending. He's like, yeah, I don't care. And to be fair, you know, some people don't mind if you just spoil the ending of your story, because at least they know what they're getting. I'm not going to spoil the ending of my book, though, because I like the experience you get when you finally get to the end and see the last page, and you're like, wait, what? So getting into the interior art, it probably doesn't show up super well on my phone, but the colors in the interior are so bright. Not emphasize that enough. It's like very boom brightness in your face. And when I was reading it digitally, I thought, you know, the bright colors looked really nice. I usually like bright colors. But then when I finally got into looking at it for the actual print, it was glaring. And it's weird how much of a difference it made when I read it in print versus when I was reading it digitally. Digitally, I was fine with the bright colors, but then when it was on the printed page, I was like, ooh, you should have maybe desaturated it a little bit. I don't know, maybe I had the brightness on my computer turned down a bit. Maybe that contributed to me being able to take the brightness. But I think the primary reason is because when you're reading it on digital, you're reading one panel at a time, so you get a chance to take in a certain amount of information at a time. And then you change to printed, and there's like a complete rainbow of colors blasting everywhere, and you're not really sure where you're supposed to look all the time. Especially when you have a book like this that's all about the big shots. It's all money shots in this book. It's one of the best things about it, honestly. And there is just something about printing extremely bright colors that just doesn't translate as well in physical as it does in digital, for whatever reason it is. And the first book focuses on establishing a romance between Mary and this guy working on the ship. And this is established uniquely in this because of Mary's character. Now, like I mentioned, she's, you know, very comfortable and boyish. If I were to describe her, I would probably describe her as like every male protagonist from an anime. She's a goofball, she's perverted, and she does have like a skinny, boyish body even. You know, we're so used to seeing those types of tropes on a guy that it's very interesting when it's gender bent and shown on a female main character instead, and try to see how it could play out by her being the perverted one, her being the goofball. So here's why it didn't really work that well. I think part of the reason is that you may have swung a little bit too hard with the pervertedness. Now, it seems really, really easy to make a perverted guy character because there's also that trope in anime where the pervert, you know, touches the girl and she responds by smacking him in the face. There's repercussions for a pervert acting like a pervert when it's a male character. But you can't really have that in this scenario, because if he just smacked her in the face, that would be a little bit, I don't think that many people would like that. And I think you probably knew that as well. So she doesn't get smacked in the face for acting like a pervert, no matter how many times she clearly is acting like a pervert. And I think that doesn't help with her character that much. Because not only are you having her swing very hard with being a pervert, you know, constantly doing perverted things to this guy she obviously likes, but also she faces no consequences for doing so, which I guess would encourage her to keep on doing so. But in most anime, there's supposed to be that balance so that you're okay with the character doing the perverted things as long as they get punished for it afterwards. And you don't have that here, so it might not be necessarily okay anymore. I think it's a lot more okay when it's more subtle, like this, where, you know, he bends over and she's looking at his ass. Another thing that I mentioned is that this comic's very expressive with the faces, and so they're not afraid to make ugly faces every now and then. For the most part, I guess I'm okay with some ugly faces here and there, but I wasn't super okay with them on Mary, because I feel like, you know, she is a female character, and for the most part she has a boyish body, but you still try to express her femininity by having her have a romance. But granted, she acts more like the perverted guy character when she has that romance. If there's anything that you should express her femininity in, it should be her faces, so she should look cute most of the time. You know, even if her body is kind of boyish, you should have her face look very feminine. Even it out, like I said. And not super long after the romance has been established, we get into the bad guys. And of course, they are pirates attacking the ship that Mary is there as a defender. And of course, she's very upset because these pirates have just interrupted her romance session with the boy toy. So that is where it ends. It ends with the pirates attacking, she gets suited up and ready to fight them. So you see what I mean? You miss out on the entire fight if you just got issue 1. You miss out on any fight scene, really, if you just got issue 1. Most of what you get in issue 1 is just her personal romance story. It's very heavy dialogue, and I'm not really convinced that a lot of the dialogue is that great. Like I said, there's a lot of problems with the flirting, obviously. So for these reasons alone, I didn't enjoy issue 1 nearly as much as issue 2. This is where the shit hits the fan. This is essentially an entire issue focused on fight scenes. Like I said, it's hard to flip through, I'm sorry. So look at this money shot. Wham! Kicks him in the stomach, but bam! Right into... This is a very great fight. It's all big, flashy. It's not like a Batman fight where it's all hand-to-hand combat or anything like that. Like, people are flying all over the place. It's great. And like, just look at this shit. Look at it. Everything looks so cool. She fucking gets out that electric sword thing that I kind of just pulls out somewhere, and then she just starts fucking slicing this dude, looking down at him with just like this cold death stare. I was getting some serious Alita vibes from this moment. It's first of all, it looks so fucking cool, but it also is so fucking cool. So now I'll get into the spoiler of this book. You have been warned. Like I said, you'll probably know the spoiler already if you had seen the video with me and George talking about this. Here you have a scene where she's going to fire a very clear shot at the pirate ship and wreck them completely. She's looking through the lens and she recognizes her boy toy. He was with the pirates. Let me say this. When I was imagining this scene, when he was describing it to me, I was not imagining, you know, it quite like this, you know? It's like it's so subtle, and they made sure to make a very big panel. Like, you see his face over here, and just that last zoom in. It's so well done. I'm not so sure about her face when she sees him, though. It kind of looks more like a pouty face than it does a face of shock and betrayal. But then, of course, you got like this double pager of her just firing a shot into the air. It goes nowhere because she does not have the heart to shoot him. And as you can see, kind of a problem here, buddy. No. There we go. God damn. damn it! So then we have this last scene with her where you see her much more serious. The color changes. I love that color change. It really just sets the mood perfectly. And basically the last shot is of her in the shower repeating the information that she knows and how she's going to find them and how she's going to in turn get her revenge. It's another thing about this book. I don't like the last shot that we end on, and I'll show you. Boom, there it is. Oof. Like I said, sometimes because this comic is very expressive, it gives you the ugly faces. I would not have ended on an ugly face, especially during a very serious scene like this. I get it to some extent, you know, sometimes when we're really frustrated and angry and we're crying, we make that ugly face. But like I said, she is also feminine, you know, you should show some femininity in her expressions as well. For this, maybe you could have had her eyes closed, turned away, maybe like trying to shut her mouth, but it peeks open a little because she can't quite breathe, she's crying. And I think that would have been a better face to end it on, honestly. As you can tell with like the art style itself, it's very, very sketchy. You know, it doesn't go super hard on the detail. You know, this is basically just blotches in the background, and this is a super uneven battery logo. There are some people out there that can pull off that sketchy style really well. I would say George is one of them. I can't pull off this sketchy style. People look at me and like, you didn't finish this drawing. What's wrong with you? You see, like on the back, we have all this like stats on the suit, which is just straight up cool. But also, like, you see how sketchy this style is? And yet, it looks like a suit. How did you do that? I zoom in on here, I can see that you just scribbled. That's not a finger, you just scribbled. How did that work? Basically, every drawing from here is like a gesture sketch drawing, and it makes for really cool looking fight scenes too, because they're just so expressive in how the body moves. So I really do like the art. The only thing I don't like about the art is the ugly faces every now and then, but you know, they're doable. All of the fighting scene in the second issue is just epic. It's just awesome. So hell yes, I will be looking forward to more Mary Sue. Yes, I will be backing more. But obviously this book, it's not without its issues, you know? I don't think the heavy dialogue in issue 1 was very good, and I don't think, you know, saving literally all of the fight scene for issue 2 was necessarily that great. I mean, if you really wanted to end on her getting suited up and getting ready to fight the pirates, I would have actually opened issue 1 with her fighting like a different guy, like a different villain, and showing how cool she is. Maybe at the end of the fight she's like, woo, I need a vacation, and that kind of transitions to her being on the ship. Grandpa comes over like, you're not on vacation, this is a contract. Now would that have been a little bit cliche? Maybe, but it would have been cool if you started off issue 1 in a fight scene. And, you know, it would have, I think, made the reader feel like there was more reason to buying issue 1, because, hey, it has a little bit of fight scenes in it. It sets up for the next story, and then it leaves you on a cliffhanger, and you buy issue 2 to find out the rest of the new story. Art is awesome, fight scenes are awesome, story is solid, printing quality needs work. Needs work, man. I'm sorry. They're very sturdy books, but there's a little bit more that goes into making comic besides sturdiness. I can tell that this was good printer paper that it was printed on, but, you know, there are some issues here and there. Some of the art directions might need to be looked over and reviewed again. Like I said, over saturation on pages, some of the faces, and yada yada. Overall, I really enjoyed Mary Sue, so whatever your thoughts are, leave them down below in the comments section. I am curious, what did you think of Mary Sue? And are you looking forward to reading more? As usual, remember to like the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Program restart.